Russia just hit reactor number 4 of the Chornobyl power plant. Yes, you heard that correctly. The day after President Trump made all these overtures for a rapprochement with Vladimir Putin to reinstate him as someone credible on the world stage and effectively suggested a peace plan, in inverted commas, that would meet many of Russia's unreasonable demands from Ukraine. Russia goes and fires a drone, kamikaze drone, at the nuclear power plant in Chernobyl. It sounds absolutely surreal, but should we be surprised that Russia would further escalate the situation after they have received some concessions from the US president? I'm not surprised at all. It is pretty typical of the behavior of Russia under Vladimir Putin in the Russo-Ukrainian war, that any sign of weakness, any overture, is taken advantage of with escalation, and surely there will be more demands and threats following this. So, Привет, Tere. As you can see, there are two flags behind me, Estonian and Ukrainian. My name is Connor Klein. I'm an expert in international relations, and I have been living in Ukraine for many years. Obviously, I'm not in Ukraine right now. I'm here in Tallinn in Estonia temporarily. We'll be heading back to Ukraine pretty soon. And I'm here to give you a more insightful and nuanced insight into the happenings of the Russo-Ukrainian war. I also happen to speak Ukrainian and Russian, so I can read all the stuff in the original. So also something that gives me a little bit of an edge in analysis. I've actually been to the power plant. Obviously, Chernobyl, you're well aware, in 1986 there was the accident there, and there was the radiation. A lot of it actually spread into neighboring Belarus, the region around Gomel, that was very heavily contaminated, and it's hard to estimate how many people died. Obviously, I think it was around 100 died in the immediate aftermath, and then many more are believed to have died as a result of the radiation poisoning that many people in the region suffered from as a result for years later. So it's obviously a very somber and scary place. You can go there. I've been there, I think, 3 times in total. I actually went in 2011 where they're building the sarcophagus over. They built a new sarcophagus with foreign aid. I think it was mainly European aid, or maybe it was American aid at the time. And I went there. They were actually building, they were about to slide it across. Originally, after the nuclear accident, there was a sarcophagus built by the Soviets. Obviously, it was in the Soviet Union. Ukraine was part of the Soviet Union at the time. And that sarcophagus had gotten old. It was being replaced. And I saw that when it was in construction. That is actually what was hit by the kamikaze drone yesterday. It would have obviously flown over Belarus in all probability to get there. It's very close to the Belarusian border. Russia actually occupied the power plant at the beginning of the 2022 invasion. They advanced out of Belarus and seized the power plant on the way to Kiev, and then it was kind of an odd scene that they were there in this nuclear power plant facility, one that's so infamous with nuclear accidents. And I also went back, let me think, when were the other times I documented those on my lifestyle channel, so it would have been probably around 2019, and lastly in 2021, I'm pretty sure I went there. And the town Pripyat, which was built for the workers, for the families that were based there beside the nuclear power plant, that you can go to. It's a bit like a ghost town, and nature has taken it over quite a lot since then, since it's been more or less abandoned and no one formally lives there anymore. So pretty interesting to see that they would hit the nuclear power plant the day after we've had all this furore in the media, European officials hand-wringing, as I said yesterday, clutching their pearls about what Donald Trump has suggested as the basis for negotiations. Art of the deal, and inverted commas as well. Never knew that was in the art of the deal, to give away so many of your bargaining chips before you even start the negotiations, but that apparently is what he and his administration said yesterday, although I saw a lot of that was walked back this morning by the Secretary of Defense, the US Secretary of Defense. So we'll have to see. Today starts the Munich Security Conference. I'll be reacting to it in some more videos, and then my live stream on Sunday in this channel. Also on the lifestyle channel, I will do a live stream, as this is a very pivotal time in the Russo-Ukrainian war. The EU High Representative for Foreign Affairs, Kaja Kallas from this country, Estonia, she basically backed Zelensky yesterday, saying that they would support him if he refuses to sign such a deal. So it will be interesting to see how things pan out, especially as the US Secretary of Defense need to walk back a lot of his comments about Ukraine never joining NATO or not joining NATO today already. So, nuclear power plant attacked by a drone, kamikaze drone, a Russian kamikaze drone, the day after that you show any sign of weakness towards Vladimir Putin, towards Russia. This is pretty standard, as we've seen in the last few years, but still it should concern you that they're willing to fire it at reactor 4. That was the one that had the nuclear accident. You've probably seen, there was, I think, a HBO series many years ago about the disaster. It was quite popular, and it's, I guess, when they already occupied it, and they occupy a operational nuclear power plant was not working right now in the Zaporizhia Oblast, in what's called Zaporizhia nuclear power plant in Ukraine, and there have been many incidents where rockets and drones were fired at the vicinity of that nuclear power plant. So it is a little bit of nuclear saber rattling, I guess, in a sense, to hit the nuclear power plant and make a point. Interestingly, and something to think about, another thing that the Secretary of Defense, the US Secretary of Defense talked about this morning was that it would be up to President Trump to decide whether Ukraine would get nuclear weapons or not. So an interesting turn of events. The obvious conclusion, or one of the obvious conclusions for Ukraine going forward, if they were to say not have US military support, US was to abandon them, is do they try to acquire nuclear weapons? Infamously, back in 1994, Ukraine signed the Budapest Memorandum, where they gave up their control of the subnuclear weapons that were stationed on Ukrainian territory. Belarus and Kazakhstan did the same for security assurances that basically their sovereignty would be respected. Obviously, Russia violated all of that, along with many other agreements and international law, and also the other signatories, US and UK, did not do anything concrete to counteract that happening. So it would be interesting to see that, since Russia's given us a reminder about nuclear power, if Ukraine were to acquire nuclear weapons. There are currently nuclear weapons stationed in neighboring Belarus by Russia that also, I guess, goes against the Budapest Memorandum to a certain extent, or the spirit of it, because, well, they were supposed to be a non-nuclear state. So technically we're in a little bit of a gray area about Belarus, since the nuclear weapons are stationed there but under the control of Russia. So that could all be something that happens, or at least something that's used in a negotiation. So nuclear facilities, nuclear power, nuclear weapons are being discussed or alluded to or attacked as we enter the Munich Security Conference. We definitely live in interesting times. So I'm going to finish up today's video like that. I will be back with a lot more over this weekend, since it is a pivotal weekend, as I've said, and it is very cold here in Tallinn, wintry. And so I will say, do pobачення and do перемоги until the next video.